So, hi everyone. Let's wait for 4 more minutes and then we can start. We will start in 2 minutes.
Good evening. Yes, Satish, we are actually waiting for everybody to join in. Uh, Dr. Manoj, may I start the session?
Yes, please.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to your very first live classroom session with Dr. Manoj. My name is Swapna, and I'm the mentor for the DS cohort. Um, Today, you will go through your first live classroom, and you all know Dr. Manoj. I will just like to add a couple of things. That is, if you are having any queries, please try and put it in Q&A because then it's easier to check and answer them. And the YouTube links and all the details will be shared with you at the end of the session. Over to you, Dr. Manoj. Thank you.
Thank you, Swapna. Hello, hi everyone. Welcome to this week live classroom session, and this is going to be your first session. So I'm pretty excited. So hope you guys are also pretty excited about the first classroom session, and you will also be wondering what kind of things are going to be discussed on those every week live classroom session. Remember, guys, so every week we will have something to discuss. So it can be either to improve your work, which is on your thesis, or there would be some kind of sessions which would be dedicated entirely for answering your Q&A. So we would suggest all the students to participate the live classroom sessions without fail, and the dates as well as the time, it's already fixed, so you should be able to get the slots from your student mentor. And for the first session, it's going to be on how to choose a project. And remember guys, uh, if you have any queries, please feel free to post your questions in the Q&A panel. And the most important part, just a moment. And by the way, please do not post your questions in the chat window. You can post your questions in the Q&A panel. And one more thing, please do not post your questions now. No, I will be answering some of the questions which you may have in your mind during the presentation. So you can just wait until I complete the entire session, the slides. It would probably take about like 20 minutes or 30 minutes, not more than that. So once we have done with those the slides, then you can just start post your questions. So let's start now on how to choose a project. So these are the agendas for today's webinar. It's going to be a quick introduction to an importance of a project title. And then we will walk through the systematic process involved in choosing a research topic. And there would be an exercise for you guys. So we are just going to do an exercise on how to choose a project title. And towards the end, it's going to be a Q&A. And remember guys, so all these live classroom sessions, video recordings would be uploaded into your Upgrad platform under a separate section. You can just talk to your student mentor, and even the slides which are being used during the live classroom sessions would be shared along with the videos. So you don't have to take any notes. Okay. So nearly 100% of the people will go directly to your title before even reading any parts of your thesis. Why? A clear project title means one target, one arrow, and one or many objectives. Have you heard of a reticular activating system in your brain? Can you just answer yes or no in the chat window? You got 3 seconds. Have you heard about a term called as a reticular activating system in your brain? Okay, so it seems like 100% of you have not heard about a term reticular activating system. Let me just show you what you mean by that. So reticular activating system is a bundle of nerves at your brainstem that actually filters out unnecessary information so that the important stuff gets through. So similarly, your project title provides a kind of a filter for the readers to look for the desired information, eliminating the unnecessary information. And one of the common mistake the student does during the research title is thinking about the title. And we have seen a lot. The students would spend several hours on just on thinking about a title. Remember guys, your title, you have to choose your title towards the end. So in order to choose a research title, it is not a straightforward approach. So you must systematically follow certain process in order to develop a good research title. So the process of choosing a data science or AI or machine learning research title shown in this slide is based on my experience, guys. So the process is for your general guidance, and please do not be rigid to the shown process. So as you can see here, there are 6 processes involved in the selection of research title for both the data science as well as the AI or machine learning. The first process is in order to choose your area of interest. This is something which you must think on the areas you are interested. And one of the important skills which you're going to learn during your masters is primarily on how to narrow down your research focus and try to be as specific as possible. So that will be an important skill which you guys are going to learn during your master's thesis. So let's say, for example, I'm interested in doing my research on a medical domain. It's way too broad. So you should ask yourself the next question: which area in the medical domain? So let's say cancer. The next question which you should ask is what type of cancer? Because you cannot come up with one model to work for all the types of cancers, isn't it? So now we need to narrow down a bit further. So let's say I have decided to go with the lung cancer. Now, it's a question for you guys. Do you think, is it appropriate and specific? Can you just please answer yes or no in the chat window? You just got 3 seconds. The response seems to be a kind of a mix, yes and no. But I'm just happy to say like nearly 90% of you have said no, and that's the right answer. Okay. Once you have decided on a lung cancer, then you should further drill down. Am I going to work on a structured data or on a images? Then you should further narrow down whether I want to build a predictive model for a lung cancer, patient survivability with a lung cancer, or early detection of lung cancer patients. And you may wonder, how am I able to find these classification? It seems to be kind of more specific. So how is it possible for a first time person who are going to do a research how to identify these different classification? The answer is very simple. It's based on the support of a literature, which we will see it in a while. Okay, so once you have decided about the area of interest, the second thing is to search for the relevant data set. And there are quite a lot of data set source which are available, like an open data, UCI, Kaggle, IEEE data port, so, and even from a research centers or a published papers. So if you could not able to find a suitable data set for your research, the answer is very simple. Better change your focus on other aspect. Do not waste your time in collecting the data. That's first important point which I just want to tell or highlight. If some of you might wondering like whether you want to collect the data on your own, my suggestion is please do not waste your time in collecting the data. And the second, don't waste your time on identifying a data set from a research paper. Okay. It would be something much more easier to work with the readily available data such that you can understand the research approach which has been taken in the existing studies, and easier to defend your research gap and compare your research. And the next common question which comes to the students during the selection of project topic, they may say, I want to do my dissertation on image processing, but my expertise is entirely on an NLP or on a structured data. My humble advice, please do not do this. This is not a time for you to, switch your area of interest. For instance, if you haven't worked with a computer vision, or if you haven't worked with the images, please do not choose those type of areas. So your areas and data has to be on the uh, type of data which you have practiced and which you have enough skills. And remember, guys, masters, when you can call yourself as a master, only when you have obtained a necessary skill to show your craft. So same thing goes here. You can become a master only on the area which you have gained expertise. So I just repeat, do not try to change your expertise at this moment. This is not the right time for you. Okay. Now, let's move on to the third process, which is the literature. And in the literature, this process, it consists of like a 3 sub process, which are to collect, the literature. Second, identify the problems. And the third one is to verify whether the problem is current or out of date. So how you can do all these things, it's very simple. With respect to the published data sets, you need to search the research database like a IEEE, Science Direct, Springer, PubMed, and Google Scholar. And you guys need to read the base paper. So what do you mean by a base paper? This is something very important, and I would be repeating this term quite a lot. You guys need to find a base paper. So what is a base paper? A base paper is an article. It can be either a conference or it can be a journal article from which you have got an idea. So you are just trying to build up from whatever the idea which you have got from that specific paper. So that we call it as a base paper. So once you identify a base paper, you have to read every single section, and you need to understand the data set, the concepts which has been applied in the data, the problems which they have been trying to work, and how the results have been produced. So every single detail from a base paper needs to be understood by you guys before you move further. And if you feel interesting, then you should start to download more papers through screening the references, citations, and searching the topics in the research database or a Google Scholar. And also, you should know whether the research is it current or outdated. So the next question which comes to your mind, how do we know whether the research is current or outdated? It's very simple. Just by looking at the time difference between the paper published date, the theoretical support, and expert opinions. You just by having these three, classifications, you can easily identify whether the research which you are going to do is it current or outdated. So the fourth process, you need to write a synopsis. So after reading the literature, so you should write a synopsis with 6 key elements, which is already given in the slides. And you guys can see here, the number of words is just about like 250 to 300 words. Not much, but you have to include 6 key elements within those 250 words to 300 words. So the first one, and it has to be organized in the same order. That is important, guys. I just repeat, it has to be organized in the same order. So first, it's the introduction and background of the study. Second, it's the problems. Second, it's the problem. Third, it's the methods. Fourth, it's the purpose of your study. Fifth, it's expected results. And the last, it's conclusion. Okay, once you have written a synopsis with these 6 key elements, you need to screen your synopsis to identify or to pick some important keywords. Once you pick some important keywords, you can just simply mix and match your keywords to develop your research question or your project title. Okay, guys, so as you can see that in order for you to develop or to come up with a project title, you have to complete this entire process. Now, let's start with an exercise, okay, so that you can understand how we can apply this 6 process during your project selection. So as we know, the first process, it's the area of interest. Now, let's say we are interested in the education domain. So we want to do something on an education data mining. So do you think we should start searching for a data set? Can you just please answer yes or no in the chat window? You got 3 seconds. Oh my goodness, the response seems to be kind of a mix. It's like almost like a 50-50, yes and no. The answer is definitely not. You should further narrow down your focus. So, under the education data mining, there are different areas where you can focus on your research. So, it can be on a program recommendation, it can be something on a performance of a student, it can be on a student dropout or student retention, and the list goes on and on. So, let's say for this example, we decided to go with the student performance. Okay. Now, after we decided about an area of interest and we choose about the student performance, the second process it's for searching the data set. So there are quite a lot of data repositories. Okay, you can search in UCI. It can be through a Google dataset search engine. It can be through Kaggle, Reddit, IEEE Dataport, and this is something new. Okay, so IEEE Dataport, you can find quite a lot of data sets and journal data in brief. Okay, so let's say we have managed to find our data set in a UCI. Okay, so before we move on to the third process, there are a few more additional data repositories which I would like to share, which are nothing but from Amazon, Yahoo Research, Google Cloud, Data.world, academic torrents, competitions, and research centers. Okay. Competition and just a moment, guys. I'm just getting a chat message. Ooh. Okay, guys. Remember, when you post something in the chat window, it's just pops up some windows over here, and it actually distracts me. Sorry, guys. Let me just go back. Okay, so these are some of the additional data set source which you can refer. And my suggestion is try to look for some competitions and a research center. Most of the students, they prefer to go with the Kaggle data set. The reason might be very simple. The data set is readily available and there are some solutions which is already there. So they always prefer to go with the Kaggle. But remember, guys, you can find quite a lot of interesting data sets in the competition as well as the research center. Only thing is like you need to spend your time in order to search for the data set. Now, we have completed the two process. We have identified the area of interest, and then second, we have searched different data sets, and let's assume like we have already found a data set in UCI. So the third step, which is to come up with a literature. Now, I'm going to teach you a trick on how to find a literature. Remember, guys, whenever you are downloading a data set from a data repository, you may be able to see the source, meaning like there might be someone who might have contributed the data set. So you should be looking for that particular information. That is very important. So let's say, for example, this student performance data set was contributed by this author, and there is a link as well. So now when I search for this author or a specific link or the title which has been given here as an acknowledgement in a Google, you can see here, this is the paper. So using data mining to predict secondary school students. So when I go through this article, I can clearly understand about the data set, and also I can understand about the problem the researcher have been working, and also I can understand the different types of methods which has been applied. And most important, can you just see here cited by 311. Okay, I'm just going to repeat. Once I go to this, after searching this article, from the primary source in a Google, we were able to identify the paper. So this we call it as a base paper. So now what we should do, we have to read this base paper in order to understand about the data set, the problems which they are trying to solve, and what are the different methods which they have applied. Okay, there is a query from a student to go back to the previous slide. Okay, so from the slide, you can see here at the bottom, there is an author name as well as there was a link given here. So through that link, if I just search it in Google, I might be able to find an article. So this was the article title which I came through that particular link. So when I just simply search for this article title in a Google, uh, it shows cited by 311 papers. So what does this means? You can easily get all the articles which have actually used the data set, or else they have used some of the ideas of a secondary school student. So meaning you are able to identify an entire literature survey. So you got 311 articles. Now the next process, literature. So from that, do we able to identify some of the research papers? Well, it can be from IEEE, from Science Direct, Springer, ASEAN, PubMed, if you're working on a medical. Okay, so PubMed, if you're working on a medical, these are some other additional source, Adwex, Google, and ResearchGate. Now, just for this example, guys, just for practice, I'm going to share a document. You are going to read the document, and then you guys are going to extract the keywords. And towards the end, you are going to suggest a title. And for this exercise, I will give you 5 minutes. In case if you are able to complete within 5 minutes, please do not post your title. You need to wait for your other friends to complete. Once I say, then you can post your, whatever the title which you have come up after reading the document or the abstract. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that I can switch to that document. Okay, guys, now you just have to read this abstract. I will give you 5 minutes time. Okay, and you are going to come up with a suitable research title for this project. Okay, so your time starts now. So you are given 5 minutes to complete your task. guys can also see the title which you have posted. I repeat, please select all panelists and attendees so that your friends can also see the title. Okay, very good. There are quite a lot of interesting titles which has been posted in the chat window. So I'm not going to read every single title. So I'm just going to choose some title in random and we can just discuss. So the first title is from Ashutosh. Student success prediction for Portugal students using machine learning techniques. Okay, the title seems to be relevant, but instead of on success, it has to be on an academic performance. Remember, guys, the abstract was focusing on the student academic performance. So if you have mentioned an academic performance in your title, it would be well and good. Okay, so the next one, education analysis for Portuguese students. That's very, very broad. You just have to be very specific. You need to be specific. So a good title, secondary education student performance prediction using machine learning models. Very good title. Impact of social condition on the performance of the student across maths and languages. Very interesting title, Itesh. You know, in the abstract, there are some features which has been given. So based on that feature, Hitesh, I've come up with a very good title. The next title, Understanding Factors Affecting Student Performance Using Data Science. So please do not use a term which is very broad. For instance, data science. They are very two broad areas. So you need to be very specific on the problem which you're working. Identifying the core reason and predicting student performance in Portugal. That might be quite difficult for you to do, Utkarsh. So the next one, comparing different machine learning model accuracy to predict Portuguese student performance. So the title can be rephrased, it makes sense. The title actually makes sense, but you just have to structure it in such a way it looks a little bit, suitable for the research. So a comparison of different machine learning models to predict student performance. Okay, Ujjwal, so that's my suggestion. Applying data mining techniques to improve secondary education. Okay, there is one title which has been suggested, education quality improvement. The title is wrong. So as you can see here, it seems to be very broad and you are focusing on education quality improvement. So it needs to be improved. So the next one, analysis on student performance using BI or DM techniques. Okay. Investigating the parameters for improving quality of education for Portuguese population. That's a good title. So let me just try to search for some other. Okay, this one. Improvement of education system in Portugal. This is wrong title. As you can see here, you are coming up with a very generic title. Improvement of education system in Portugal. So that's very broad. That's not specific to the abstract which you have read. Okay, there is one more title, Predict Student Success Rate. I just felt like, the title is incomplete. Remember, guys, when you want to come up with a research title, especially for a data science and AI and machine learning, you can try to capture some of the keywords which discuss about the features. It can be about a specific model, or it can be even something on a specific technique. For example, okay, I'm just giving an example, guys. Let's say the data set, the student academic performance data set consists of a imbalanced data. So you can try to capture the imbalanced data in your title so that when a person reads the title, they will understand like, okay, so this research, they are focusing specific to the imbalanced data. So that your title should highlight what you are trying to do. For example, another example, if you are going to work on a high dimensional data and you are going to reduce the dimensionality of your data through applying some feature selection technique, then you can specify that specific feature selection technique. So your title will clearly articulate like, okay, these is the things which you are going to do in this research. Okay, as you can see here, guys, you were able to come up with a title just by reading a simple abstract which is being produced over there. So same thing goes for your project. So if you want to select or if you want to come up with a project title, you should write a synopsis and then you can choose your title. Okay, so I'm just going to stop sharing my screen. Before we move further, I'm going to launch the mid-session poll. So do your duty, guys. Let me start sharing my screen. So now let's start with the Q&A. There are already questions which has been posted. So I'm just going to answer those questions. Okay, the first question is from Pratik. Is it compulsory to select data set for research? I'm planning to work on flowchart image processing with the TensorFlow object detection and want to create a test case automation by reading flowchart images. In this case, training set will be manually created or I will download the existing one mentioned in the research paper. So as we have already discussed, it's better to start searching for your data set before you move further, Pratik. So let me just move on to the next one. It's from Hafiz. I have issue with finding data sets. I have selected number of 3 data sets and I called with expert. He rejected all my data saying it's too simple to work and give some site to find a proper data set. Then I selected number of 3 data sets from UCI and then had another expert call and the next expert said the data set are used by many people. It's too simple. Then proposed me some data sets from Kaggle competition. Now what should I do? Should work on this or will it be rejected again? Okay, Afiz, I think this question was posted before even we started the session, and I believe you might be clear now how to choose your data set. And if you're still struggling to find any data sets, you can just book an expert call, and they would be happy to help you. So the next one is from Siddharth. For submitting 3 research topic, we need to submit the topic selection research, Excel document only, right? Is that only document expected correct by Okay, for your timeline or your deadlines, or you can check with your student mentor. And remember, guys, for any non-academic queries, you should always talk to your student mentor. And the live classroom sessions or the webinars, it's mainly for an academic queries. So if you have any academic queries, you can feel free to post it here. Now, going back to the deadline, you can talk to your student mentor regarding the submission. Yeah, that's right. So you are just going to submit a Word document with 3 titles and some short description and a link to a data set. That is important. The next question is from Mainak. I have a topic but not able to find a substantial data set for that. How should I proceed with the topic then? So okay, Mainak, I think the presentation would have answered your query. So let's move on to the next one. Sanjay, I'm talking with companies to solve a machine learning problem. Still, should I send 2 other topics along with the data set? Yes, Sanjay. Despite you are going to work on an industrial project, it's important for you to identify a few more data sets. It can be from the same industry or it can be from an external source. And by the way, guys, if you're planning to work on an industrial project and if you have already spoke to some of the senior managers, it's important for you to get an approval letter. Okay, so you have to get an approval letter, and there is no specific format for the approval letter. There are some key important points which you need to mention in that approval letter, which is none other than your name and for the what type of data is going to be shared with you. Is there any kind of a restriction on the data or the analysis? For example, the data cannot be shared to the university. It needs to be clearly mentioned in that approval letter. Okay, so try to get an approval letter before you start your research or your proposal. That's important. In case if a company has already accepted to give a data set, and if it's taking some time, it doesn't matter in that case. But it's important for you to get an approval if you're working with an industrial data set. So, should we use the data someone has used in their paper? It's better. It's better if you can use a data set which has already been used by some other people. The reason why I'm saying this, like, it will be easier for you to understand, and most important, you can try to improvise from what others have done. The next one is from Ravi. Can you please give some idea on how feasible it is to do a research in space science domain? I have chosen 3 domains, but I want to do my research in space science. And how can I go for a good topic in this domain? So I believe that, again, this question was posted somewhere earlier in the presentation. So if you still have a doubt, you can just ask again, Darvi. If it is your expertise, then you can go ahead. You will be able to easily identify. If you want to try something new, the suggestion was already given. So the next one, it's from Rabin. How to consider the research paper is outdated? What is the year of research to be considered? Let's say, let's take an example. I want to select a topic on a handwritten image. This research was done in 2013 to 15. If I can go ahead or not. Okay, very good question, Rabin. Let's say you found a data set as well as a base paper in 2015. So now you have almost 5 years gap. So what you should look for, some articles which are still using that old paper, the 2015 paper and the data set. If you can able to find any 2019 or 2020 paper, meaning the problem is current. And another scenario, let's say you found some data set and a paper in 2014, and after 2014 there is no publication, so meaning this research is outdated. There are no more things to be done, so you should move on to some other data set and a research. The next question from an anonymous attendee: can we pick a data set and its respective Just a moment, guys. Let me stop the poll. Okay, so the next question is from an anonymous attendee. Can we pick a data set and its respective research paper and change the model architecture, let's say based on the intuition or experience, and use this as our research on the same or different data set? Exactly, this is what you need to do. Pick a data set, find a respective paper, change the model architecture or change something. It can be something on a pre-processing, or it can be something on a in between stages of your model. That's where your research is all about. The next one is from Sanjay. I had chosen BFS as my elective in PG diploma. Due to that, I don't have much hands-on NLP or DL. So can I do research in traditional machine learning technique? If yes, what are some problems that I can work for? Okay, Sanjay, if you have an experience only on a structured data, well and good. You can try to find some data sets on that specific type of data, and it can be on a domain which you are interested. Once you started to read some paper, definitely you will get an idea. The next one is from Dixon. What if there is no base paper available as of now on the data or area of interest I have selected? Very good question, Dixon. You can try to find some other similar area. You can find an article which has a similar interest. For example, during my PhD, one of the one of the objective or one of the problem idea which I actually got it from fisheries. Really, guys, it's from fisheries department. Okay, I took that idea and I applied it through the help of data science on a specific healthcare. So as you can see, like it's completely different domain, fisheries and the healthcare. I got an idea, so that was my base paper. From that base paper, I tried to apply it in the healthcare domain. So same thing you can do. It doesn't have the base paper doesn't have to be from the same data set or the same domain. It can be even from a different domain, as long as you can try to get some idea. The next one from Sanjay. I'm in talk with companies to solve thesis problem. Is it still mandatory for me to submit 2 more topics? Yes, Sanjay. Priyadarshini, do we have to submit the dataset or the link of the dataset? The answer is yes. Do we have to submit the code with the dissertation at the time end? The answer is yes. Do we need to deploy the code? The answer is no. The next one is from Satish. So how to do a step-by-step research for literature survey in any research paper portal such as AVEX? I'm still facing issues in selecting research papers from a search results of millions. So Satish, I gave you some examples. You can drill down your papers through the citations, or it can be through the references. Try to find this idea. You can able to find more articles related to your work. What if we don't have expertise in a particular topic? That doesn't matter. No, guys, remember the beauty of data science, AI, and machine learning is, they are domain independent, meaning you can now work in a finance and you can move to healthcare, or from a healthcare you can move to education sector, from education sector you can move to telecom. So that is the benefit of a data science. So you don't have to have a very good domain knowledge in order for you to apply. Shashnapuri, how to choose domains? It should be based on your interest. So you would know much better than us. The next question from Priyadarshini. Okay, guys, please don't post your question more than once. I will be answering them. The next one is from Dinesh. So, how big a data set should be good for the project? There is no, a minimum or a specified limit for the size of your data, and the same thing goes to the number of instances. You can work on a data set which has about 1000 instance, but you were able to show, like, this is the problem which has not been addressed. That is what we are focusing. We are not actually focusing on the size of your data or the number of columns which you are going to use. Okay, Dinesh. The next one is from Uttam. I work on a supply chain domain and have some problem areas in my project that I want to help to do more research on, which can help my company as well. However, the data set for my company seems to be confidential. How do I go about this? So as I said earlier, if the data could not be shared, it's fine. You just need to get an approval letter from your company. That's important. And you need to attach it in your thesis. And you don't have to share the data set with us if you're working on an industrial project. So I just repeat, if you guys are working on an industrial project, you don't have to share the data, but it's important for you to justify that you have gotten approval. The next one is from Ravanit. What if we don't have a base paper associated with the data set? I think it's already been answered, so I'm just going to skip. If we can't use the data set, is it good to search the data set first instead of a base paper? That's right. So you should find the data set and then you should search for the base paper. The next one is from Satish. Can you please suggest sites where contains engineering data asset? You can search in IEEE data port. You can search it in a research centers, competitions. You can just go to those links and you should start searching, Satish. Definitely you can find. The next one is from Anonymous Attendee. How to differentiate between two data sets? So what do you mean by that, Anonymous Attendee? The next one, Sridevi, is the data set from 7 years good to go? As long as you can find some latest articles which have been using the data set, then it is good to go. Ravnit, can we choose the same title as the base paper? Not really, Ravnit. We don't suggest, we would advise you to do something slightly different. Okay, guys, and there is one more question which you will receive at the later stage. Do I have to come up with something novel for my thesis? That's a very common question. The answer is no. Remember, you are not doing PhD. So you don't have to come up with something new or something novel. You just need to come up with something state of the art approach. What do you mean by state of the art approach? There are some problems and there are some already applied methods. As long as if we can show something better from what others have done, that is sufficient for your master's dissertation. Okay, so the next question is from Mohit. How to drill down with the data set and RP topic when anyone is interested in BFSI along with deep learning? What do you mean by BFSI? There are quite a lot of acronyms which I've been using, Mohit, so it's better if you can just mention the abbreviation. So the next one is from anonymous attendee. Do we need to write synopsis for all the 3 topics that would be submitting before November 16th? Please talk to your student mentor. They will give you the date. Can I change the data set after the topic submission? Palmari, yes, you can change the topic after selecting the data set, but you need to get an approval. The next one is from Arun. When searching for data sets and literature, some sites like IEEE asking for university institute email ID login. So we will have to wait till LJMU ID access to the sites are provided. Yes, that's right, Arun. The next one is from Neeraj. How and when we will go to know which topic is finalized by when to submit the one finalized research proposal? Neeraj, please talk to your student mentor. The next one from anonymous attendee. I can find the data set of my choice but could not find a relevant base paper. Should I drop the topic? No. As I said, it's not necessary that you will find the base paper. So it might be you can find a base paper somewhat related to your data set. Okay. The next one. I work with a lab which tests antibodies for COVID-19. I have a lot of images for rapid test case having positive or negative bands. Can I work on it predicting results of a rapid test using deep learning? Okay, first thing, you can, but you need to get an approval and also an ethical approval from your company stating that they allow you to use. So that is very important. The next one, for topic selection, do I need to have a complete literature review as well? Example, I'm choosing a banking domain, in particular credit risk or operational risk, default prediction or fraud detection. I have identified many data set. I'm afraid I won't have time to complete all literature reviews. Okay, during your project topic submission, just read 2 or 3 papers, that's enough, or maximum of 5 papers. Don't go more than 5 papers because your topic is not finalized, and it's not necessary that all your 3 topics are going to be approved. So read just 2 to 5 papers per topic, get some idea. Based on that idea, you can write a synopsis. Once a specific topic has been approved, then you can read more article. And don't worry about your project proposal. I will give you some tips on how to write a project top proposal, and I will also be taking you several live classroom sessions dedicated for your proposal. So for now, your focus, you needs to be on selecting the data asset. Okay guys, remember, for now, your entire focus needs to be on choosing a data set. Can I submit more than one data set for a particular topic? Akhil, the answer is no. We want to know the data set which you are working. So please don't give too many alternatives for us. The next one from Ravneet, what change should we do over the existing base paper? Is it okay if we use the different approach, keeping problem statement same as a base paper? Yes, you can, Ravneet. Like for deep learning image classification topic, we change the number of layers in the deep learning model and see what was the accuracy change is introduced in the problem with its. Is it okay for dissertation? Now, it's actually 2 different questions which you're asking. First one, is it okay if we use a different approach, keeping problem statement same as base paper? The answer is yes. But just by changing the number of hidden layers or the neurons, that's not, has any value to show it as a master's dissertation. Probably you can focus something on an augmentation, or something you can focus on a different models. So that should be some specific purpose, Ravneet. Not just a very simple hyperparameter tunings alone is not sufficient. The next question is from Neeraj. Next question is from Neeraj. I have finalized the topic, but there was no data set available. That's wrong, Neeraj. You should search the data set, then you should finalize the topic. But I managed to put together a sizable data set. And after my discussion with the upgrade expert, he was fine with the approach, but I'm not sure how will I share the link to the data set. Please suggest. The link, you can share it in a document. You can just talk to your student mentor, Neeraj. The next one, I have found a data set and a base paper, but this looks to be too time consuming and complex. What should I do? You can talk to the upgrade experts, or else you can submit during your selection phase. They will verify. Can the 3 topic be the same area? For example, if I'm doing a research on a fundus of eyes, each of the diseases can be a topic itself. Yes, you can. A very good question, anonymous attendee. Okay, guys, remember, you can have one data set and one domain, and you can submit 3 different topics. Meaning, if you have found 3 different problems, you can use the same data set and same domain, and you can come up with 3 different topics. What if one is senior? In that case, also approval is needed. What do you mean by Raja? Sorry, Raja, I could not able to understand your question. So let me just move on to the next one. Anusha, the paper has already solved the problem with the data set. How to get out the problem statement from the same? Okay, Anusha. First thing, I want to congratulate you. that you have already found a problem statement and it is already being solved by someone else, it's well and good. At least you know that there is a problem. Now, using that problem, you should try to read a little bit more paper. Once you start to read more papers, definitely you will find something better that can be done for the same problem statement. The next one from anonymous attendee: how do we identify a good data asset if we come across multiple data assets for the same topic? Uh, that's a good question. Next week live classroom session is going to answer that. It's mainly focusing on some of the do's and don'ts when choosing a data set. The next one is from Adil. I'm planning to do a research on the synthetic data generator using multiple machine learning model. This synthetic data generator tool should be accept every data available to some extent. For such scenarios, what data should I submit? Any sample of data which I'm going to work, will it be fine? No, Adil, please don't do that. Come on, guys, during your masters, application of different machine learning models doesn't shows you a maturity on the understanding of the problem or a research. The important skill which you have to develop during your masters to identify a one simple word: problem. Okay, it is actually a difficult thing, but you should know what problem you're going to work. Okay, don't say that I'm going to work on a different models, I'm just going to compare with 10 different classifiers and identify which one is performing better. That's not a research. Vishal, how do we know what data set is used in a research paper? Does every paper call it out clearly? Some paper does, some paper don't. Avneet, I'm not able to find a good data set in wireless domain. I searched few data sets on the call drops, pocket drops, connectivity problem, but not able to find a good data set. Can you please help me with any leads in the good domain wireless to proceed? Or should I change my domain? Has not able to find much on this. You have already had the answer. If you don't able to find any good data set, then you should change. The next one: in case I'm working on an industrial data set for my company, and company is not willing to share the data set and the code we create during the research, would this impact my final evaluation from the university? I think it's already been answered. No, you won't. It won't affect. The next one: can we choose multiple topics from the same data set? I think it's already been answered, so I'm just going to skip. I have a data set and the topic during research. I see there are many articles around the same topic. Can I use same, or since this problem is solved by many, should I identify new topic? No, read the papers, then understand the problem which they are working. So based on that, you can come up with your own topic. Sanjay, what should be the ideal size of the data set, which is already answered? So I'm just going to skip. Vijay Kumar, while doing the literature review, is it required to read all the reference document mentioned in the reference section? The answer is optional. Soundarya, how many base papers should we consider? There are many papers for a particular data set. Usually one. For the problem which you're working, if you can able to find one base paper, that is sufficient. What if I could not find the topic and data set in time? Then you should spend more time. Can I scrap the images to make data set from the public site for the research paper? Please don't waste your time, Divan Shu. Prathav, if a topic is very new and there are not many research paper, how to approach such topics? Then you should try to find a related domain, or where they have been having somewhat of similar problem. So based on that, you can get some idea. And one more thing, guys. Anyhow, I will be sharing this information in the next week, but I think it is a good time to mention now. Don't think of coming up with some new technologies or new languages in order to show the value of your master's dissertation. No, the answer is no. You're not going to get any extra mark. For example, I'm going to use a GAN model because it's something new, which is gaining some popularity. So just because of that reason, I want to use a GAN model in my research. Is it going to increase the value of your dissertation? We would say no. Even if you can solve a problem using a logistic regression, that is sufficient. So the simple answer is problem and the method which you're going to work. It can be any method. Okay. The next one, how to search for a research paper citing a base paper that I have selected in the earlier screen notice cited by 311. Is there any way or a quick tool to check access these 311 papers or articles quickly? Yes, when you click on cited by 311, it will list out all the 311 articles. You can, filter based on the recent articles. So sort based on your recent articles and you should start reading. The next question from Chandra. I want to do my project in social indices and its impact in Indian national election. From where can I get a good data set for the same? You cannot find Chandra. Better to change your topic. Mintu, there are obvious thousands of papers available for the topic like anomaly detection or predictive maintenance using machine learning or AI or process modeling. In that case, what should be the maximum age of the people? Very good question, Mintu. Okay, guys, when you're reading any article, make sure they are quite recent. When we say recent article, the last 5 years articles, it's sufficient. So you should have an article from 2015 all the way to 2020. And there can be few articles which go, in 2014 or 13. And in some cases, if you're working on a certain concept which was published in 1980s or 1990s, then you can use those concepts. Otherwise, the articles which you are referring has to be recent in the last 5 years. The next one from anonymous attendee. If you're going for a reinforcement learning problem wherein improving a winning type of a game, in such case, these create a game environment and randomly create scenarios. Would it be enough? In such scenarios, we wouldn't be required to provide the data set, right? The answer, yeah, that's right. So in that case, you don't have to provide a data set. And one more thing, anonymous attendee, and I don't know why. This is what I have seen in the past. For almost like more than a year, we have seen like the students who are taking a reinforcement learning problem, they are getting very lower grade. If you ask me the reason, I don't know why, but this is what we have seen. So I just repeat, based on the patterns which you have seen for the past 1 year, the students who are taking a reinforcement learning, they are getting lower grade. If you ask me why, I don't know. Maybe the amount of reading which they do, or maybe they didn't fully understand the concept. So before you go with the reinforcement learning, make sure you know the concept and you know what you're doing. Okay, that is important in order for you to get a better grade. Tyagarajan, can I use any tools to do machine learning like Google Earth Engine, etc.? You can use any tool. There is no restriction. You can use any programming language. And even if you want for your dissertation, you can have more than one tool. We don't mind. Okay, so the next one from anonymous, and let's say as per the paper, they are using different data sets than what I want to use. So is it okay not to compare the results of the research paper with my research? It's not always necessary for you to compare your results. If they are using a different data set, you can show how the models are performing in your data set. That's it. Okay, so the next one, can we write thesis on comparative study set of techniques used to solve a particular problems? Yes, anonymous, certainly you can. The next one from Ujwa, I want to do research in astronomy domain using computer vision, but as if I have graduated last year, I don't have any particular expertise in any domain. I'm very much interested in this domain. Should I pursue this topic in this domain? Yes, Ujwal, you can. You can work on some astronomy domain, and there are some data sets which are available as well. Okay, so the next one, I'm interested in something related to improving human life in terms of psychology, like what people stress, etc. Will this be feasible in terms of getting data set? No. When you have an idea, And if it is broad, then what you should do, you should narrow. Okay, guys, and by the way, the session is already over. It's a one hour session from 2:30 to 3:30, but now we are almost like 3:45, and there are more than 70 questions which have been posted. So shall we continue? Is it okay for you guys if it takes about another 30 minutes? Shall we continue? Okay, thank you guys. Thank you. So please don't post any more questions. Let me try to complete this 77 question as of now. Okay, guys, please don't post your questions. Otherwise, it will take a little bit more longer. So let me go back to the question. Do we need to submit both link to the dataset and the dataset files? If so, my dataset is 3 to 5 GB. Yeah, that's right. You have to provide a link. The next one is from an anonymous attendee. Out of the 3 topics, is it mandatory from the university that every topic must be approved and they can be assigned only one to the student? Okay, your topic would be approved based on the relevance for your master's dissertation, and there is no priority which will be given. Okay. Siddharth, towards the end, do we need to write code on our modeling technique used? You can write a code or you can use any tool, that doesn't matter. The next one is from Abhinit. Can I take dataset and problem statement from ongoing Kaggle competition? I have shortlisted 2 topics and datasets, however, struggling the third one. Can I submit 2 topics for time being? You can just try to mix and match with the 2 topics which you already have, and you can come up with the third topic, Abhinit. Do we need to submit the link to the dataset of all the 3 topics? The answer is yes. What if we are not able to search any topic based on our interest area? Is it possible to choose a topic for some given list of topics may be given by upgrade? Yes, but we don't actually recommend you to choose the existing topics. Okay. The next one, Tyagarajan, there are some tools to do machine learning or deep learning for image processing. Okay, in that case, I cannot give the code along with the dissertation as if it is done by the tool itself. I think it's already answered. It is not necessary for you to use any programming language. We are flexible. Okay. How do we know if we can complete the research in the stipulated time based on the data set and the topic chosen? So that's where your project supervisor going to help you. Once your data set has been approved, you are going to have a regular meeting in order to narrow down your scope. The next one, how to know whether the research is WIP or is it already over, need to select other data set. I think it's already been answered based on a research paper support or based on the expert opinion. Okay, the next one is from Lalit. Do I need to have an existing research paper to go for a topic, or I can start with a fresh idea and start reviewing information and the data points available? What is recommended? Lalit, thank you for asking this question. Please, please do not do this. Okay, guys, don't come up with something new idea. You will end up not completing your work. Okay, okay, Lalita. Okay, I'm sorry, Lalita. The next one from anonymous attendee. Who approves the data set and when does it needs to be submitted? Already on 16th? It's not on 16th, anonymous attendee. Please check with your student mentor. The next one, I have read few papers, but I'm not really able to figure out the gaps in the paper. How to tackle this? First, find your data set. Okay, the next one from Abhinit. Are we going to provide with some cloud computing platform? Yes, please talk to your student mentor. Sri Devi, how to download paper from LCBA? Do we have access using our LJMU credential? Yes, Sri Devi. The next one, can some research be done on why flight crashes? Is this feasible because researchers already did a lot of research? My suggestion on the flight crash, if you have a data set, yes, you can. Otherwise, please move on to something else. Vinith, is it okay if we remove or hash personally identifiable information and alter the data set to ensure the user privacy is not compromised? If yes, how can we present the working code and model performance if the data set is altered? You can anonymize, Vinith. Anonymous attendee, I want to select topic in a healthcare diagnostic, but not able to select the topic. Can you give some points to start with? Healthcare. Okay. In a healthcare diagnostic, again, it's kind of too broad. You need to narrow down. Preeta, in the topic selection worksheet, how many minimum data sets and papers shall I study for one topic of interest? For one topic, there should be only one data set and more than two articles. Ashish, the base paper I have selected is from 2011, but the recent paper is from 2019. Is it okay to proceed accordingly? Both the papers have similar topic on restaurant recommender system, but the techniques and objectives are little different. Yes, Ashish. Suman, do we need to look for multiple data sets from the same topic? No, Suman. Anonymous attendee, if we take data from a competition like Hegel and don't have any base paper, is it okay not to submit any base paper, not but only the data set? No, you have to find some alternate papers. Can you give me the exact web link for research centers and competition? Vasudeva, you have to search. There are quite a lot of research centers, so you need to search. Tyagarajan, when I use a base paper and make different approach to get a to get a better performance, in that case, my paper would have some similarity. Would it be considered as a plagiarism? No, Tyagarajan. The three topic to be high level headline or should be framed using smart. Better to frame using smart. Can we use paper that is not yet published? Yes. Okay, the next one, there are a lot of theses on data set. How can we go to each thesis and see how our thesis is different from them? Or our thesis should be better approach than other base paper? Yes, it should be better than other base paper. Satish, isn't possible that new ideas can be associated with the old data set, which do not have any recent papers? In this case, could it be considered outdated? As I said, it can be based on expert opinion. So there would be a lot of justification which you may have to give in order for you to work with this type of data set, Satish. The next one from anonymous attendee. Let's say one of our objectives is to improve recall, and the end recall is not improved with our approach. Then will it be considered as a fail? No. Vasudeva, can you give me the exact web link for the research? I think it's already answered, so I'm just going to skip. It's very difficult to come up with a state of the art for my chosen data set available. So what can be done? Think what you can do, and by the way, you can book your call with the experts. The next one from anonymous attendee, if we are showing an approach which is something better over the same problem as in the base paper in our dissertation, then the problem state remains the same, right? Yes, that's right. So the only thing which has changed is your model. Preeta, if I find the data set which has already been used, hundreds of paper, still can I use the data set for my research? Yes. How many page document the research paper should have? It depends, lah. Do we need to write synopsis for all the three topics? The answer is yes. Is it mandatory to select a data set like a RL problem we cannot generate on our own episodes, which has already been answered? So I'm just going to skip. How base paper and data set related? Can you please clarify? Okay, Pratik, I think you just go back to the example which we have worked today. That can help you. Vijay, during our dissertation process, if we couldn't meet the expected results better than the base paper, do we need to choose a different data set and restart the process or document the result as it is? You will document the result as it is. You are not going to be penalized because your model performance was lower than when compared to the base paper. You're not, as long as the difference is not significant. Do all the three topics needs to be from a different domains, or can I choose it from, okay, which has already been answered? It can be either from a same domain or a different domain. So let me move on to the next one. Can you give me the exact, okay, which is already answered. Can we merge data sets available in multiple links into one and use for our research work? Rishi, If you want to do this, you need to talk to your supervisor and get the opinion. Okay, there is a catch if you are planning to merge more than one data set. Do okay, which is already answered. Can we choose topics from two different domains? Yeah. The next one, I chose to work on a neural network, deep learning, and selected the work on a biomedical, but could not select the topic name and very difficult to find out data set. How will I find data set and give the topic? How many data sets? Okay, first search the data sets through the data repository which was shared during today's classroom. I have selected a public data set, but the base paper is private for my company. The base paper might not be shared outside the company. Is it possible to frame the problem statement? Yes, Ashutosh. If we found data set where model accuracy is nearly 98 committed in Kaggle, do we need to improve the model in accuracy also? It can be either improved or you can show something which is not done properly in the base paper or by some other people. Okay, there are 30 more questions, so I'm just going to be very quick. I'm choosing a topic in the infrastructure modeling and I found a few papers on cloud monitoring. Is it okay to pick a similar predictive analysis for infrastructure monitoring? Yes, Akshat. Some of the data sets requires approval. We cannot download directly. Example, medical information. Can I submit topic only after getting approval for such data sets? No, you can submit, and in the meantime, you can apply for the approval. Ravi, finding problem and writing a way to solve it is what we have to do, right? We would be showing results from models if we build on. Yes, that's right. And the next question. Suppose topic, data set, and problem statement all has been finalized, but somehow I could not achieve the desired result on how to solve the problem on time. Then what? Don't worry, your supervisor is the person who is going to monitor your progress and they will help you to do that. Say, for example, if I not get more data set for my research, can I create data set by myself? No, please don't do that. The next one, I'm looking for audio into data sets and to find out which one is good to use. Okay, so now the next one, what if the topic is too easy and it doesn't take too much coding and time to solve the problem? Should we try to make the topic more complex or just simple problem is enough? If you say it is too simple, and then why do you want to take? At least try to make it a little bit complex. When will we get our university login and email address? Please talk to your student mentor. Any pointers with regards to grading, as you said about reinforcement learning? No, Dharavi. The only thing which we have done is like the student were not able to achieve. I mean, they could not able to write a proper thesis, and I don't know why they could not able to write. Can we collect multiple data from data sets like open data and come up with a problem statement like causal relationship between multiple indicators? It's better not to use the data set which has been published in opendata.gov.in. The reason why will be discussed in the next week live classroom session. Okay, so the next one, please provide some inputs, I think, which has already been answered. So I'm just going to skip. Can we go for human activity recognition or say sign language recognition of video clipping since it's already heavily researched? Can we do the edge computing, say Raspberry Pi and show it is as a project? No, still you can go with the human activity recognition, Isha. Prashant, I have identified a problem in healthcare. However, the problem is an IT system problem. Then the data from the system is an AI machine learning use case. So the scenario good enough for my thesis, or should I be looking into AI and machine learning aspect? Now it can be on a system data, that doesn't matter, Prashant. Jabir, is it required to have data set beforehand? Yes, there are some topics which does not require reinforcement learning. I think which is already answered. So I'm just going to skip. Can we use generative model? Yes, Jody. Anwar, you can refer the recording. Is the synopsis is based on the base paper? No, Hitesh. It's based on your understanding and what you're going to do. Anwar, should we use the data sets provided by any governments on its website? You can, but there is a catch which I will be discussing in the next week live classroom session. I don't know any advanced topic on machine learning. However, after selecting the topic of interest in data set, I do literature review and see all the research papers are done using the advanced topic. How do you suggest me going ahead with my topic of interest? That doesn't matter, Rajesh. What is the difference between research topic and a research question? That's completely different. Today we discussed about the research topic, and for the research question, please wait for some more time. For most of the papers, there is a need for the email ID from the institution. Yes, Hitesh, please talk to your student mentor. Are we supposed to submit minimum 3? Yes. If I think Sudarshan it's already answered, so I'm just going to skip. Okay, guys, we are nearing the end. There are only 7 more questions, so this is the time for me to launch the end session poll. Please do your job. Okay, Praveen, questions regarding the selection of base paper. Base paper should be the paper that talks about the data set, or can I pick any cited paper that actually interested me? You can pick any paper that actually interests you, as long as you get some idea. Okay, that's the purpose of a base paper. Okay, so the next one is from Pooja. Can we select 3 different topics from the same data set? Yes, Pooja. Rajesh, after mentioning the techniques we plan to use in the topic, later we find the approach doesn't give better result. Can we change the approach mentioned in the topic? Yes, Kavita, you can. Rajesh, can I use the same data set for 2 different topics? Yes, you can, Rajesh. So, Mick, what should be considered to be too ambitious given the time frame? I'm interested in some fundamental work regarding the algorithms that we use instead of application of the algorithm. Should I consider this type of topic as feasible? So, Mick, now please don't do that. It will take a longer time. Krishna, can we consider applying a gesture control for server operation as the project idea? If so, should I be implementing the idea as well for the final submission? Don't go on applying a gesture control. Okay, but rather you should find a method on how the gesture control can be improved for the server operation. In that case, you don't have to deploy. Okay, the next one, Sujesh, is it possible to add additional data set during the later stage of the project after the topic submission? Yes, but you have to get an approval. The last question from Sijesh. Is it mandatory to get better results compared to the existing published paper, or can we just explore different methods to address the problem mentioned? In that case, there is a chance that we might conclude the proposed method is not the right one to solve the problem. Okay, Sijesh. It's always not necessary to get a better result when compared to the other papers. Okay, but in the same, it should not be too much significant difference between the base paper and your paper. For example, if others were able to get 93 and you are getting only 53, so meaning you're doing something terribly wrong in your work. If others are getting 93 and you are able to achieve 87, you can justify what you have done and what can be done in the future in order to improve the performance. That can be included in your thesis. Okay, and you are not going to be penalized. There was the last question from Sudarshan. Should we rule out reinforcement learning project as it just doesn't click for marks? Not for the marks, it's for the student interest. They could not able to produce they could not able to produce well on the reinforcement learning. That's what we have seen in the past, Sudarshan. Okay, there is one more. Do you have good pointer or lead for wireless domain topics? No, Ravanit. You can check on those data repositories which we discussed, or you can search, some research centers which produce some data sets. Okay, guys. So that's it. We have come to an end this week. So thank you everyone for participating for this week live classroom session, and hope you got some idea on how what are the things you need to do in order to search your data set, as well as on finding a base paper, and you might have got an idea on how to come up with a topic. We cannot cover more within the given time frame, so the next week it's going to be on something a different area that's really going to be helpful for you. So in case if you have any other queries, please feel free to talk to some of the upgrade experts, or else if you want to talk to me, you can book my slot, a one-to-one call, and then we can discuss. Okay, so thank you everyone. So over to you, Sopna.
Thank you so much, Dr. Manoj, for giving more than just 1 hour and letting everybody clear their doubts with you. Uh, that's about it. Good night, everybody, and have a good day, Dr. Manoj. I will send in the session recording. This will also be available in the platform, and I will also send the YouTube links to all of you. Thank you so much.
Okay, so thank you, Sopna, and thank you everyone. See you all next